Trump cuts $400 million from Columbia University after the violent protests were uncontained and mismanaged by the staff of the university. Donald Trump states that they are not doing enough to protect these Jewish students.
Columbia University in New York City found out pretty quickly that President Trump is not messing around. He cut at least $400 million in their federal funding as those protests have raged on, and said the school did not do enough to protect Jewish students on campus. Students tell me mass protesters were handing out these pamphlets on campus. The papers claim to be from the Hamas media office, calling the October 7th attacks by Hamas a moral victory. And ICE is stepping in, deporting a foreign student who they say was supporting Hamas, arrested at a campus, so now he can say goodbye to his visa. I've been covering these protests for months. What it comes down to is that these protesters think they call the shots. They don't listen to the universities, they don't listen to the police, but now with the funding cuts, the school might have to crack down.
Anti-Semitism is ramping up in schools across the board. Failure of protecting Jewish students with this amount of money can be perceived that Columbia University either fails to acknowledge their responsibilities or they are hoarding up the money for themselves. This level of disorganization and mismanagement cannot be tolerated for what Columbia University holds itself to be. Watch this clip.
On Friday, the Trump administration canceled $400 million of federal funding to Columbia University over its inaction to combat rampant anti-Semitism on campus. Well, I'm joined by Columbia Assistant Professor Shai Davidai, who has become the face of the pro-Israel movement on campus. Shai, what do you think about this move from President Trump?
Well, I have to say, it's regardless of what you think of the president, you agree with the president, you disagree with the president made promises. The president made certain attempts to let the universities know that this will come if they won't step up their game. They refused to step up their game, and now the president is following up on his promises and giving them the consequences. That's what it's like being in a democracy.
So here's the question. I think for a lot of folks who see this from the outside, they just kind of see bits and pieces and they say, what's the big deal? It's a protest. Protest is allowed. You know, why are you guys making such a big deal out of this? Can you maybe walk, the average folk through, is there actually anti-Semitism on your campus? What does it actually look like in person?
If you're only tuning in now, that's totally fine. It's better late than never. And I'll tell you this. Over the past week, forget the past year and a half, over the past week, we've had two violent takeovers of buildings at Columbia University. One in last week, and then when the students didn't get what they want, again, 2 days ago. Those events were 6-hour takeovers of buildings where the university refused to do anything about them. They were all wrapped in keffiyehs and masks, so they couldn't even identify them and give consequences to the students that just barged into the buildings and refused to come out with their drums. But worse of all of that, they were giving out printed propaganda of Hamas, a US designated terrorist organization, basically has its propaganda arm inside the university. The university has known about this for a year and a half. It's been getting so many messages from federal and state government, you have to do something about it. For some reason, they refused to do it. And so the government did the only reasonable thing. You don't act in the American way, you don't get American taxpayers' money. Now, there's a lot more taxes that they're getting, and I hope the university now realizes that it's $3.5 billion a year that we're getting is at risk.
Yeah, that's what I've been reading a lot of these reports, is that this might just be the beginning. But quick question, Shai, are you still barred from campus?
I am personally barred from campus.
Crazy.
Since October 15th, 2024. I don't know if I told you this. I'm still employed, so I needed books for my office, for my work. I asked to come in. They wouldn't let me go into my office to get my books. I asked, can my wife come in and get my books? And they wouldn't even let my wife get into the office to get my own books and my own personal items.
Do you think that this move made by Donald Trump is justified? Comment below.